We are all set to start our forum on partnering in sustainable infrastructure that is happening here at the 46th IFAWPCA convention in Kathmandu, Nepal. We'd like to believe that yesterday was a very insightful and informative day for all our distinguished guests and delegates, and we hope to top that today with more insights and information. Again, a humble request to all our distinguished guests who are outside this hall. If you can hear my voice, I'd like to request all our distinguished guests and delegates to kindly come in and join us.
To send a message to the world. The rooftops of the world are caving in. This tragedy is unfolding in two perilous chapters. Phase 1 is the story of melting glaciers and ice sheets. Record temperatures mean record glacier melt. Nepal has lost close to 1/3 of its ice in just over 30 years. Antarctica and Greenland are losing billions of tons of ice mass every year. Melting glaciers.
We'd like to welcome on stage our keynote speaker, Mr. Tan Seng Chuan, President-elect, World Federation of Engineering Organization and Emeritus President, the Institution of Engineers, Singapore.
Ever larger, the disappearance of glaciers altogether. Glaciers are icy reservoirs. The ones here in the Himalayas supply fresh water to well over 1 billion people. When they shrink, so the river flows. In the future, major Himalayan rivers like the Indus, the Ganges and the Brahmaputra could have massively reduced flows, combined with saltwater intrusion that would decimate deltas. That spells catastrophe. Low-lying countries and communities erased forever, millions of people on the move and fierce competition for water and land, and floods, droughts and landslides accelerating worldwide. I'm here to cry out from the rooftop of the world, stop the madness. The glaciers are retreating, but we cannot. We must end the fossil fuel age. We must act now to protect people on the front line and to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees to avert the worst of climate chaos. The world cannot wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been informed that our distinguished chief guest, Right Honorable Prime Minister of Nepal, is en route and will be joining us shortly here at the event. In preparation for this, I would kindly like to request all our distinguished guests and delegates who are outside this hall to kindly come in and join us inside the hall and to kindly take their seats. I would also like to humbly request each and every one of us present here to kindly keep your mobile phones in silent mode. I'd like to humbly request all our distinguished guests to kindly keep your mobile phones in silent mode. And if you do feel like you've already done it, I'd like to request all of you to kindly recheck it one more time. Namaste, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. One last request to all our distinguished guests who are outside the hall to kindly come in and join us as Right Honorable Prime Minister of Nepal, Mr. Pushpakamal Dahal Prachanda, is in the premises and will be joining us inside the hall for our forum, Partnering in Sustainable Infrastructure, in just a little while. A humble request to all our distinguished dignitaries, delegates inside the hall to kindly take their seats as well. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor and pleasure that I announce the arrival of our chief guest for the forum, Right Honorable Prime Minister of Nepal, Mr. Pushpakamal Dahal Prachanda. May I also request all our distinguished guests to please rise in honor of our national anthem.
सार्वभौम फैलिएका मेची महाकाली सायौं थुङ्गा फुलका हामी एउटै माला नेपाली सार्वभौम फैलिएका मेची महाकाली प्रकृतिका कोटि कोटि सम्पदाको आचरा वीरहरूका रगतले स्वतन्त्र अटल ज्ञान भूमि शान्ति भूमि तराई पहाड हिमाल अखण्ड यो प्यारो हाम्रो संस्कृति छ विशाल अग्रगामी राष्ट्र हाम्रो जय जय नेपाल।
Thank you all. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to invite on stage Mr. Ravi Singh, President of IFAWPCA and FCAN, for the welcome remarks in the forum.
Chief Guest, Right Honorable Prime Minister IFAWPCA, distinguished delegates, esteemed invitees, ladies and gentlemen. It is with immense pleasure and a deep sense of purpose that I extend my warmest welcome to each one of you at this significant forum dedicated to vital topic of partnering in sustainable infrastructure. Your presence here today is not just an honor, it signifies our shared commitment to shaping a future where sustainable infrastructure stands and a core of our regional development strategy. Our region marked by growing population and complex challenges necessity a focused approach toward sustainable infrastructure today. More than ever, it is an imperative that we prioritize collaboration and innovation to address economic development, mitigate climate change impact, and enhance energy security. Sustainable infrastructure holds the key to not only confronting these challenges, but also fostering enduring economic growth, lessening the impact of climate change, and fortifying energy security. Building upon a momentum generated by our previous forum in Nepal, Mongolia, and the Philippines, under the overarching theme of partnering in sustainable infrastructure. This gather aims to go deeper into collaborative strategy. We are committed to crystallizing the outcomes of our discussion and formulating the Kathmandu Declaration on Sustainable Infrastructure. This declaration is envisioned to be our guiding light, illuminating our path for future endeavors. It will serve as an inspiration of policy making and a catalyst for transformative action within the construction industry. Our aim is to articulate a set of principles and commitments that will not only shape our collective vision for sustainable infrastructure, but also propel us towards a more resilient and environmentally conscious future. Today, we confront challenges marked by limited financial resources and technological capabilities. However, these challenges are also opportunities for innovation and collaboration. This forum served as a vital platform for policymakers, experts, and practitioners to engage in discussion that will pave the way for transformative solution by capitalizing on expertise present in this room. We can develop effective approaches that not only address our infrastructure development needs, but also foster sustainable growth and development in our countries. I am confident that the discussion and collaboration in this forum will be instrumental in shaping the future of sustainable infrastructure in our region. Together, let's embark on this journey of knowledge sharing, partnership building, and transformative thinking without further ado. Let's begin this enriching dialogue towards a future where sustainable infrastructure stands as a bedrock of our progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Singh, for the welcome address here at the 46th IFAWPCA Convention Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to announce that the forum will now be inaugurated by our esteemed chief guest, Right Honorable Prime Minister of Nepal, Mr. Pushpakamal Dahal Prachanda, by lighting the panas. We would humbly like to request our chief guest, Right Honorable Prime Minister, to kindly do the honors. Our gratitude to our chief guest, Right Honorable Prime Minister, for this auspicious start to our forum. I would now like to invite on stage Mr. Levi V. Espiritu, Executive Director of IFAWPCA, for his message.
Right Honorable Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda, distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, honorable delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to stand before you today to discuss a topic that is not only pertinent, but crucial for our present and future: partnering in sustainable infrastructure. Through its partnership with the Federation of Contractors Association of Nepal, FCAN, IFAWPCA is able to further its goal of offering a forum for the exchange of ideas and information on the shared pursuit of a more sustainable future. In our rapidly evolving world, the demand for infrastructure is escalating, whether it's transportation networks, energy systems, or urban development. The necessity for robust, efficient, and eco-friendly infrastructure has never been more pressing. However, to achieve this, it is not enough to rely solely on the effort of governments or private sectors. It requires a collaborative effort. It requires partnership. Collaboration between public and private entities is the linchpin in constructing sustainable infrastructure. Governments hold the responsibility of setting policies, creating frameworks, and establishing conducive environments. On the other hand, the private sector brings innovation, expertise, and investment capital necessary to drive these ambitious projects forward. The essence of sustainable infrastructure lies not only in its construction, but also in its longevity and environmental impact. It encompasses designs that reduce carbon footprints, optimize resource utilization, and embrace renewable energy sources. Such infrastructure is resilient in the face of climate change and capable of meeting the present needs without compromising the needs of the future generations. We have to maintain the balance between economic growth, social well-being, and environment protection. Partnerships foster innovation. When different entities collaborate, they bring unique perspectives to the table, igniting creativity and new solutions. Think of smart cities integrating technology seamlessly into urban spaces, or renewable energy projects providing power sustainably. These are the products of collaborative efforts. However, partnering in sustainable infrastructure isn't without its challenges. Financing, risk allocation, and conflicting interests can present hurdles. But overcoming these challenges is possible through transparent communication, shared goals, and mutual understanding of each other's strengths and limitations. We urge you all to actively engage, network, and collaborate during this forum. Let us seize this opportunity to forge partnerships and alliances that will extend beyond these walls, creating a ripple effect that will positively impact communities around the world. It is not merely about construction buildings, roads, or power grids. It is about building communities, enhancing livelihoods, and safeguarding the planet. The benefits extend beyond the infrastructure itself. spurring economic growth, creating jobs, and enhancing the quality of life for all. As we stand in the nexus of innovation and necessity, let us reiterate our commitment to forging strong partnerships in sustainable infrastructure. Let's bridge the gap between ambition and action, between aspiration and implementation. Together, we have the power to build a sustainable future. One bridge, one wind farm, one sustainable community at a time. Good morning and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Levy, for your insightful message here at the forum. Ladies and gentlemen, as we embark on this new forum, it is imperative that we reflect on our journey so far, and I would now like to invite on stage Engineer Birendraj Pandey, Secretary General IFAWPCA, for the reflections on the past forum.
Thank you. Respected Chair, President of IFAWPCA and FCAN, Chief Guest, Right Honorable Prime Minister of Nepal, Secretaries, high-ranking government officials, IFAWPCA past presidents and officers, Excellence Ambassadors, development partners, presidents of private sector organizations, keynote speaker and eminent resource persons, distinguished IFAWPCA delegates, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, and distinguished guests. Namaste and good morning. As we embarked on our journey of leading this wonderful organization last November in Maldives, we sought to seek partnership and solidarity in sustainable infrastructure development. That is why we focused our endeavors under the theme, Partnering in Sustainable Infrastructure. Our commitment to fostering international collaboration and addressing the pressing issues surrounding the sustainable infrastructure had led us to organize 4 international forums, each covering crucial aspects of this very important endeavor. The first of these forums was held on 23rd of March 2023 in Kathmandu under the Financing Sustainable Infrastructure. The forum highlighted the critical need for global infrastructure investment, including financing gaps. There is a need to focus beyond economic return and emphasize on the whole project's life cycle. The forum recognized that there are professional challenges and emphasized to adopt global best practices and foster partnership. The insights gained from this forum have set the stage for the subsequent discussions that we had. Moving forward, the forum titled Sustainable Building Era, held on June 15, 2023 in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, provided us with invaluable takeaways that have enriched our collective understanding of sustainable practices in construction and development, including disaster risk reduction and green buildings. The forum focused on digitalization, adoption of holistic approach for development with special focus on resilience, environmental and safeguards, and sustainability issues. The third forum on implementing resilient and sustainable infrastructure was organized on 10th of November in the Philippines. 4 specific areas were covered, including policy and planning, financing, technology and innovation for resilient infrastructure, and ensuring social and environmental sustainability. The forum delivered on the need to look beyond economic and equity aspects and capture net economic and social issues, focus on urban infrastructure and retrofit current cities. It emphasized the need of new ways of thinking, planning, building, and investment in infrastructure as there are emerging policies and new business opportunities, and moved towards circular economy from current linear thinking. Now today, as the culmination of all our efforts throughout the year, we'll deliberate on how the entire industry of the region should move forward in fostering partnership and collaboration in creating more sustainable infrastructure. These discussions serve as a testament of our collective dedication to shaping a future where infrastructure not only meets the need of the present, but is resilient enough to withstand the challenges of tomorrow. Thank you for your attention, and I eagerly anticipate to continue the success of our endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Engineer Pandey, for the insightful reflections on the three forums that have shaped the journey of the 46th IFAWPCA convention thus far. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to invite on stage Dr. Bindanath Lohani, Head of Global Climate Change Practice Centennial Group, for his remarks and an important job to introduce our keynote speaker as well.
Thank you very much. Right Honorable Prime Minister of Nepal, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. This morning I've been asked to perform two tasks by the organizers. One, to make some remarks, very short, including looking at those four forums which Mr. Pandey very nicely presented. I attended 3 of these forums, and I will have some takeaways from this in very short, in 5 minutes. And the second task is I have a job of introducing the keynote speaker. Now the first on remarks. We've seen that the overall theme of the forum was on sustainable infrastructure. And the message coming out is the fundamental concept, and the message is the way we need to build infrastructure in future need to change. And it's already changing. From my perspective, let us mention 5 areas where we may need to make some changes in order to make our infrastructure sustainable in future. I don't need to tell you that the infrastructure is critical for economic development, productivity, trade and commerce, and essential public service. Investment in percentage GDP of a country is a good indicator of the infrastructure availability. I look at some of the numbers, and Mr. Pandey already mentioned there. If you look at the Asia-Pacific region, based on my 30 years of work in this region, 40, is the infrastructure investment is in the range of 2% to 7% of GDP, the highest being in a country like China, right? And therefore, when you really analyze that, what you find is the current investment level in most of the developing country is inadequate. That means we need to do more. There's a lot of work for the contractors to do that. Second point is we need to look at the economic and equity aspects of the infrastructure constructions. This is beyond economic return like EIRR, FIRR, which we are used to, but it should capture social, environmental, and climate change aspects, which often in the past, I myself am an engineer, I built many infrastructure, we did not include it. Third, we need to build sustainable and resilient infrastructure, that will last natural disaster, climate change, et cetera, and we need to consider these natural disaster, environment, climate change impacts, and we need to consider the SDGs 2030, which is a global commitment made by the countries, as well as the Paris commitment of 2015, also agreed by the countries, and take note of some of the COP discussions. Next week is the COP already in Dubai. And we need to be prepared to develop new and emerging policy in key sectors, like in energy efficiency, renewable, as was mentioned by Mr. Levy, transport, moving into the EVs, urban making city resilient, etc., and water, agriculture, etc. Be prepared to make changes in the policies. Before, we need to focus on infrastructure quality, and technology, including the digital technology, and innovations. There are a lot of opportunity for innovations. So we need to have a mindset, in the case of technology, to adopt. If something is already done so well in other countries, adopt it. If something is so good in other countries but needs some adaptation in my own country, let's do it. And if both of these, if our technology is so far behind, let's just directly leapfrog into the highest level that we can. And this is the mindset that will be required. I also think, as was mentioned earlier, a special focus on cities is required. Because most of the Asians will live in cities. There are predictions 65–70% of the Asian will live in cities by 2050. 60, 70, 80% of the GDP will be made in these cities. Employments will be made in these cities. And therefore, climate change will impact the cities, and we need to make the city resilient. We need to make them sustainable, livable, and making sure that this will drive the growth of the country. On the fifth point, there's a huge gap on financing. Public sector resources will not be adequate. Public sector engagement is essential. New financial instruments and modification could help. And there's also a huge gap on knowledge, the knowledge gap. And I think the partnership could help this knowledge exchange, knowledge sharing, using the global best practices, technology transfer, and promote joint venture partnership and knowledge. I personally believe that institutions like IFAWPCA could be one such forum for promoting the partnership. That's my very short 4 minutes summary. Now on my second task, to introduce Engineer Sheng Chuan Tan, who is a professional colleague and continue to remain as a good friend. I don't know tomorrow. Really honored and privileged to introduce this man who doesn't need introduction. His detailed profile is mentioned on page 9 of this book, so I'll be very, very short. Engineer Sheng Chuan Tan presently serves as the President-elect of the World Federation of Engineering Organization, WFEO. And he's also the chairman of the Charter Engineering Board, Singapore. Engineer Tan is the emeritus president of the Institute of Engineers, Singapore, where he served as president from 2006 to 2008. He also served as president of the Federation of Engineering Institutions of Asia and the Pacific, abbreviated as FEIAP, right, correct? From 2007 to 2011. He was the chairman of the Asia Pacific Cooperation, APEC. The meeting is happening in San Francisco as we speak, Engineers Coordinating Committee, member of the International Engineering Alliance, governing board from 2000 to 15. Now he has lots of professional experience, and I'll be brief, lots of experience in many areas of infrastructure, oil and gas, environment, sustainability, climate change, and he's accomplished in all those areas. In terms of the career, a few things worth mentioning. He was the Assistant General Manager in Jurong Engineering Limited, which is a very prestigious organization in Singapore. He was the Director for the Asia Pacific region for a global company called CS2M Hill, very well-known company, used to be. He was also the regional manager for another international global company called Rambol. He is currently doing a very nice boutique company called Tembusu, solely committed to environment, climate change, sustainable development, trying to get the SDG 23 and Paris Agreement forward. He is an engineer with degrees, higher degrees. I will not mention all of that, but most importantly, I think he is grounded in Singapore and committed to help the Asia Pacific region in the areas in which we are talking today. It's my pleasure to now invite Engineer Sheng Chuan to deliver his lecture. Thank you very much. Okay.
Honorable Prime Minister, President and Council Member of IFAWPCA, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This morning I'm going to share with you what we have done globally and how do we get into the sustainability journey. First, I'd like to introduce a bit of WFEO. The World Federation of Engineering Organization is the only one engineering body in the world. So we founded in 1968 under auspices of UNESCO. That's why our secretariat is based in UNESCO. We have about more than 90 country members all over the world in all the 5 continents. We are representing about 30 million engineers in the world. We are also associate status with UNESCO and co-leader in the scientific and technological community major group in the United Nations. So we probably the voice of engineers in the United Nations. Of course, like all other organizations, we have a standing technical committee. We do have a policy implementation committee and number of working groups. And when WFEO in 2018, we started to have Paris. We have declarations with UNESCO supporting UNESCO in promoting sustainable development goals. So, you know, the UN started this SDG in 2016, and the target is 2030. So engineering is the main body to help to implement this SDG, because if you look at all the 17 goals, every one of them involve engineering work. So, so we had the Paris declarations. So one of the important is in 2020, we worked with UNESCO and led the initiative of celebrating engineers worldwide. And UNESCO do declare 4th of March is the World Engineering Day for Sustainable Developments. So this coming March 4th in 2024, we will be having a bigger celebrations in Portugal to celebrate Engineering Day. And the celebration is all over the world. So it is not just only a single location, because all our members will be celebrating that day, right? And we encourage all other engineering-related professions working with us and celebrate this day so that engineering status can be recognized by general public. So next, I'd like to share with you the climate-related risks and challenges. You know, we have been heard about climate risks and what are the opportunity for us. But important is how are we going to get into it, right? So later on, I'll share something with you on that. Looking at the Global Risk Report 2023, I will just mention the three main risks by the investor. So looking at the short term, that is about 2 years, people worry about the cost of living, all right? There's a lot of crisis, the inflations. So this is what people are looking, concerned and worried about it. Of course, the next, due to the climate change, natural disaster and extreme weather event is a big issue. I will show you some figure later on related to damages done by this natural disaster. And you can see that who is the culprit is us, because we are not controlling the global warming, the temperature increase. of course, the third is geo-economical confrontation, right? Because of all this geo-economic confrontation, we got no time, no resources to go and mitigate the climate change. So these are the short term, but looking at the longer term, you look at the failure of mitigating the climate change. Next week is the COP28, right, in Dubai, UAE, right? So what the COP going to discuss? There are many issues. And we had declared 2045 to 2060, many countries has declared. But what we want is to implement, to say what we, to walk the talk, right? So I think that is quite an important area. Sorry. That is quite an important area to see how can we come together and work together and see how to mitigate the emissions and to reduce the global warming, right? So I think this is where this forum all about is to get everybody's awareness. Let's work together and see how to mitigate the climate change, reduce the emission target. Second, you will see at the longer term is failure climate adaptation because of the sea level rise and global warming, which we can't control. We have to put in a lot of resources and investment into the infrastructure. And one of it is Singapore is already started because Singapore is one of the very vulnerable island state. And we have started the Coastal Protection Initiative, and that we have target to do it in 100 years. And it's a long-term investment. We are putting it about 100 billion Sing dollar into the project itself. So for our colleagues in Singapore and some of our company in the regions, you are able to participate in some of this coastal protection. And this will be not only in Singapore, but Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines. I think we are facing the same kind of problem because flood is one of the critical natural disaster in these regions. And of course, natural disaster and extreme weather event. So these are the top concern by the people. Looking at the number, under the ESCAPE, the Economic and Social Commission of United Nations, this year's reports, in 2022, 140 disaster events occur, right, in Asia-Pac. And then it caused about 7,500 deaths and affecting 64 million people. So you can see the amount of economic damages, 57 billions, right? If we use as 57 billions for our economic development, that's so much better, right? So if you see that the main concern from 1970 to 2022, the major disaster are from storm and the earthquake in this region because we are in the earthquake zone and can't avoid. But if you see total, there are about 2 million of people die due to the natural disaster. And compared with other parts of the world, there are only 1.42 million, same period, but different natural disaster in terms of drought and earthquake. And in terms of economic loss, Asia Pacific is still a flood problem area and still the earthquake. And the economy is 2.71 trillion, the losses. And you look, compare with other parts of the world, they are more on the storm, and it's only 3.6. So if you can see the Asia Pacific, the boundary, and we got to work more, and we need more resources, like what Dr. Bintu just now mentions about the investment, climate investment. We have a big gap. And I will show you some of the data later on. Just take some example. What is a scenario? This is more towards on the climate risk. If we're looking at sea level rise, if we can control from lower than 2 degrees, we probably still had a hit on the sea level rise, but not as much, right? But if you don't have any control and let it go to 5 degrees, we're going to have 1.7, or even predictions is about 4 to 5 meters in the long run. So you can see probably a lot of us will be living below water in future. It's just like Netherlands. Netherlands is 7 to 8 meters below water. All right, so you can see that how important for us to mitigate the climate change. In terms of frequency of extreme rainfall, looking at the percentage over there, even we maintain at below 2 degrees, it's still about 17 to 36%. It's more frequent, right? And then if we don't, 150%. So we're always in the flood area if we don't do anything. So you can see quite serious in terms of the physical impact, and then you're looking at the below, the economic impact, our food and our asset, they're going to have a big problem. So, all right. So I think you can see the seriousness of this climate change, and this is where COP28 is going to address how do we keep below the 1.5. In Paris Agreement in 2016, we always talk about 2 degrees C, but then now we don't think we can maintain 2 degrees C. We have to go down to 1.5. Are we going to do it at 1.5? Not so optimistic, all right? So you will see that this, from next week onwards, there's going to be a lot of discussions in the COP meeting, all right? And, but if you look at the demand in infrastructure in APEC, this is based on the ADB this year's reports, looking at the resource need. China, East Asia, and I would say South Asia has a lot of infrastructure need. And the expected percentage of GDP, if you can see that, is East Asia 5.3, Republic of China 5.9, and South Asia 9. That's very high. If we don't have other things happening, I think we should go by this economic growth. And that is at the low growth scenario, but even we get a high growth scenario, we're going to have average about 5.7, 5.2, and 8.5. So there is quite a lot of opportunity for us, especially in the infrastructure community. Whether you are the engineers or designers or contractors, all of us will benefit from this growth, right? All right, so if you look at the challenges we have, this just will give you some idea about the, all right. So if we look at 1.5 degrees C, we have to reduce 43% of the carbon emissions from present moment, all right? So we usually use this based on the science-based target that is also international recognized target to set, and we use that to set our baseline as well as setting our target, how to go about it, all right? from yesterday I learned, Nepal has declared the net zero by 2045. And 2030 increase the existing 1,400 megawatts of clean energy to 15,000 megawatts. That's quite a lot because now we only have 6 years, about six years to go, right? 7 years. But I do understand that mainly are coming from hydropower, 12,000 megawatts, as well as the balance 3,000 are from solar, biofuel, or wind power. But that's a big challenge, and I believe they will have a strategy. The growth will be quite a lot if we are going in these directions. All right, so also sharing with you infrastructure sector globally, which are the sectors having more emission? And if you see from here, energy, always energy because of fossil fuel, right? So we need the transitions of energy into more clean energy. So Singapore is using LNG, but LNG is still not clean. So we are moving into hydrogens or even ammonia. So we are putting in second plant of hydrogen power plant. All right. So these are some of the transition we need to go through. Of course, transport sector, easy to go into the EV, electric vehicle. But EV, there's another challenge is the infrastructure. Where are the charging points? Whether your substation are able to take the load or not. So you need to increase your infrastructure development, putting more capacity in the substation in order for you to get the EV chargers in place, right? With EV, without chargers, it's not going to work, right? And so these are some of the challenges we are facing. I just give an example of Singapore because I came from there, right? We are going to install 60,000 EV chargers in the next few years by 2035. And this is very fast, very aggressive, but we have to do that because we're going to not to register any new car on fossil fuel. All right, so looking at building sector, the third one is building sector, and overall in Asia-Pac, our carbon emission is about 79%. So that is very, very high. So that's more urgent for colleagues over here to work together to see how we can reduce the carbon emissions. And of course, if you look at the cost on the climate adaptation cost, the money we spend on adaptation, the highest is still water because the flood area and transport and building. All right, the amount of money we spend about 81 billion USD. Okay, so then how do we keep to 1.5 degrees C? All right, so if you look at the infrastructure or building life cycle, we always start with planning, right? And then design, implementations, construction, operation. At the end, you're going to tear it down, right? But every stage, this is some recommendation by IPCC. Looking at the planning stage, we're looking at explore alternative. We try not to build as per what we want to do, right? We try to find alternative. Is there any existing asset we're able to utilize before we even put the pencil down to the drawing? And then we are looking at the maximize of the existing asset. And then as far as designer is concerned, I think designer play a very important role to look at material selections, whether the design is carbon optimize the carbon emissions, right? And then, of course, when it comes to looking at the carbon abatement, we are also looking at the cost. What is the return, right? So all this need to be done upfront during the design stage, and then we're looking at during the construction stage how to be more efficient. So, example like some of the company in Singapore now we always have this railway constructions, and railway constructions, 5, 6 years, even sometimes up to 8 years. The site office, they are putting in solar energy self-sufficiency instead of getting from diesel generator, right? So we have minimized the diesel generator use at site. And even for water discharge, we do get into sedimentation before we discharge, so that we don't discharge it to the river or discharge it to the sea. All right, so to make sure the water qualities are there. And of course, noise, air, in terms of environmental impact, we do it out front during the design stage. So come to construction stage, it's just more implementation, what is more in terms of construction technology, how do we deploy the technology into the construction field. And even, say for example, precasting rather than conventional. Using the material on green cement, there are many, they are getting started on green cement, but of course the cost is one of the main problems. But if everybody use that, then the cost is not a problem because you are compete at the same platform, right? So, and even for steel structure, we're using the green, getting more into green steel structure. What is green steel structure? Green steel structure is basically the manufacturing process. They are not using the fossil fuel to burn, to do produce the steel structure. So they are using clean energy to produce the steel. All right. So these are the transformations in the sector we can see. More people are more concerned about their emissions. So, infrastructure life cycle. I think you are familiar with the whole of life cycle, right? And there's a whole lot of iteration process. It will not be just like you finish the design, you rush for it, getting the contractors to quote for it, start to build. But there's a lot of process that we need to see how to optimize the design so that your emission is low, your cost can be optimized so that you save some money into the material. Very often, I heard my fellow engineers always saying that because engineers always bearing the responsibility of design. So used to put in a higher design safety factor, all right? And because it's safe, I can sleep well. But on the other hand, it's not going to be optimized design. It's going to be emit more carbon. So even engineers need to learn how to optimize their design so that they can also play a role in saving the carbon emissions, right? So talking about the upstream and downstream. Upstream, we are referring to planning, and we are referring to the project planning, concept design, and procurements. So procurement is a big wave coming in. So you will not just like business as usual. A lot of bigger company, especially the international company, they're going to push all the green procurements. So they need manufacturer, contractors to have a green policy before they can tender for the jobs. And I see quite a number globally. It's already started. 2 years ago, one contractor come to me to say that, how can you help me to do up the sustainability policy because my tender requirements, I need that. I say 1 month I cannot do because tendering period is only 1 month, so how can we do the sustainability policy, right? You need data, you need to collect the data, and collecting of data, minimum 6 months to 1 year. So these are some of the challenges you need to prepare early in terms of if you want to get into sustainability journey, but there's no if, no? Because the whole global trend is in that way. More and more companies will ask for your carbon emissions. And you need a roadmap to see how you're going to decarbonize your whole operations. Okay? When we look at the enable environment, we're looking at the ESG, the environmental, social, and governance. All right, so we are looking at how to align the policy, regulation, planning, delivery, operations, and commissions. So we're looking at the whole life cycle of the whole infrastructure life cycle. All right. This is a slide on the collaboration. So I think just now I also mentioned a fair bit when this global agreement, example like Paris Agreement, every country have to declare their NDC. NDC is National Determined Contribution. That is how you're going to reduce your carbon emissions. A report will be submitted to UN. And then at the national level, you will have a national policy, just like Nepal. You have 2040 target, I'm sure the details on how you're going to reduce the emissions on that, right? In Singapore, we also have our Green Plan 2030, and that gives us the directions that where the government is moving towards. And for corporations, we will need to see how to develop from there, because that will affect our business. It is not just, the government will do it, but every one of us play a part. In fact, one of the area is our, beside regulation, is our banking. Our bank, nowadays, if you don't have a green policy, you are not able to get a good rate for your interest loan. All right, so we have a sustainability-linked loan, green loans, and all these kind of loans coming in, and that will affect the company operations if you don't get into the this journey. All right. So I will not get into too details of the how the contractors need to work with various parties. I think you know that. Basically, on the government aspect, in Indonesia, a lot based on investor pressure. So the investor in the boards, because they are from international, so they give pressure to the company that you need to get into declare your carbon footprint. Okay, so of course the other is the developer, designer, manufacturer, embodied carbon is one of the major one, and of course NGO. A lot of infrastructure project, we are also publish our reports, and basically NGO will scrutinize. All right, so don't ignore the NGO, because they are quite a big pressure to the project itself, and some project could not take place because the NGO has a stronger power. All right, so this is from the UNEP, UN Environmental Program. They provide some guiding principle on infrastructure planning in terms of strategic planning, responsive, comprehensive life cycle assessment, avoiding environmental impact. So I'm quite sure that most of the projects on infrastructure, you require an environmental impact assessment. And ADB do that, IFC do that, World Bank, you need to comply to the environmental impact assessment because that is the liability. It's not just a part of work you need to do, but it's a liability to the bank. So the bank needs to understand what is the environmental impact. And then, of course, we talk about circularity, resource, optimize. I request you to shorten it a little bit. It's going to finish, yeah. All right, so just a case study. The Stockholm metro extension, basically the infrastructure is only concrete and steel. So what they do is during the design stage, they reiterate the design and re-engineers the design as well. And looking at the whole life cycle aspect, they're able to manage to save the overall carbon emission by 40%. You can imagine 40%, that's quite a lot. And also the cost reduction about 30%. So some of the case study, you are able to understand the benefits and, of course, the future. The transformations of the industry on infrastructure sector that relies on urbanization. Dr. Bindu just now mentioned there are more people coming to the city and more city being built, and there's a demand in the infrastructure, right? So that is one aspect, digitizations, and that could be more efficient, as well as, of course, climate change. So these are some of the area we need to how to bring the SDG into the whole operation itself. And so of course, under the new ecosystem, this is from the World Economic Forum recommendation. They're talking about infrastructure 4.0. We're looking at the new ecosystem being formed, right? In terms of focus on not only the projects, but also the human and nature, all right? And then in terms of formulated approach, technology transformations, is going to affect the infrastructure development, digital strategy, new technology innovations, and of course, building the capacity of the design team. All right, and then in terms of new business model, frame the ESG into the operations. Of course, I mentioned about a lot on design, collaborations, optimizations of risk allocation, full life cycle value, and in terms of procurements, I mentioned about green procurement. This big wave is coming in, and also company need to prepare sustainability reports for the transparency of the investor. And this is also another wave of coming in. We don't want to caught in between. In fact, the manufacturing sector already been started this journey, and I find that in the infrastructure or construction sector, the take-up rate is a bit slow, but of course with this forum, I hope that more members are able to start the journey, and of course the financial and new financials considerations on the cost-benefit analysis, and the skill and educations. So in terms of skill and educations, not only the younger engineer need to go for their upskilling, but even the board of directors, the top management is required to understand. And sustainability, a lot from top down, it's not from bottom up, all right? Bottom up, it can't work because what you need is the resources and the commitment, all right? So under the Singapore Stock Exchange, all the directors of listed company, they are compulsory to attend half a day training on sustainability related training, all right? And okay, so I'll get into the last slide, sorry. I'm just showing what our UN FCAN has mentioned. I think this is very important in terms of infrastructure is a key tool for improvement productivity, stimulating economic growth, generating decent jobs, addressing inequality, and building resilience. And I find this is exactly what we are looking for. Without any investment, you are not going to get there, all right? And, but the infrastructure will only deliver on this objective if the sustainability is embedded at its core, increasing society resilience while reducing the climate risk. So it covers everything in terms of resilience as well as the challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tan, our keynote speaker, for delivering an insightful as well as an in-depth presentation and the keynote address. We are extremely grateful for your presentation. It is now with great honor and pleasure that we would like to request our chief guest of the forum, Right Honorable Prime Minister of Nepal, Mr. Pushpakamal Dahal Prachanda, for his address in this August gathering.
Thank you. Chairperson of this forum and President of IFAWPCA, Mr. Ravi Singh, other officials, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, friends from media, very good morning and namaste to everybody. I am deeply honored to stand as the chief guest and to have the privilege of inaugurating this significant forum. I extend my sincere gratitude to IFAWPCA for granting me this opportunity to represent as the chief guest in this international forum. As we come together under the theme Partnering in Sustainable Infrastructure that is both relevant and pertinent, we acknowledge the critical importance of sustainable development in our region that is evident through the government endeavor as well. The impact of our collective efforts in promoting sustainable practice transcend national borders, influencing the very fabric of our communities and ecosystems. Today's theme resonates profoundly with the challenges and opportunities we face in building a future that is not only robust but also environmentally sustainable. I am well aware of the commendable work that IFAWPCA has undertaken throughout the year that spans from the buzzing streets of Kathmandu to the tranquil landscape of Manila. The diversity of this location reflects the sheer commitment and responsibilities of our nations to collaborate and address common challenges in the sustenance of our entire planet and the humankind. I eagerly anticipate the outcome of our discussion will be encapsulated in the Kathmandu Declaration that follows. Nepal has presented its ambitious target of achieving net zero emission by 2045 as its international commitment. Our pursuit of sustainability stands as a beacon guiding our actions. We recognize that among all the construction industry has been a significant contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. The construction sector plays a pivotal role in shaping the future, and it is heartening to witness the active participation of the private sector in leading green construction initiatives. Yet we are well aware that all the sectors' contributions to the economic development also must be responsible for the environment and for the ecosystem. Our commitment to sustainability goes beyond mere rhetoric. The government of Nepal is actively engaged in implementing measures to achieve our sustainable goals. We understand the importance of collaboration between the public and private sector as well as all the concerned stakeholders in driving meaningful changes. This forum stands as a testament to the proactive role played by the private sector that the Nepal government recognized as one of the pivotal drivers of the national economy in advancing the cause of green construction and sustainability, resulting in a transformating change. I also want to reiterate our government's commitment in pursuing and implementing some harsh and resolute measures in the government policies and action that will be directed toward solving the malaise of structural imbalance in the sector of economy, governance, environmental sustainability. The recent action and endeavor of the government act is a testament of how responsible the government is towards its economic policies, sustainable development, and its obligation for the climate actions. With unwavering determination, we look forward to forging a strong partnership with all the stakeholders to achieve the cherished goal of sustainable goals characterized by economic prosperity, environment, stewardship, and social harmony. Together, we can create a future where we succeed economically while also taking care of our planet and of our people. I feel all optimistic in envisioning the insightful discussion and collaboration that will emerge from this forum. Once again, I want to convey my heartfelt thanks for this opportunity, and let us collectively strive toward a more sustainable and resilient future. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Our sincere and heartfelt appreciation and gratitude to Right Honorable Prime Minister for his invaluable remarks during this August gathering, and we're truly honored and energized by your presence and active participation in the forum. As an expression of our gratitude, we would now like to present a token of appreciation to our chief guest, Right Honorable Prime Minister of Nepal, and would like to request our President, Mr. Singh, to kindly present this token of appreciation. Thank you very much to our Right Honorable Prime Minister of Nepal, Mr. Pushpakamal Dahal Prachanda, for his presence and active participation in the forum, partnering in sustainable infrastructure. We are extremely honored and delighted to have him. And ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of the first half of the forum. We'd like to request all of you to kindly join us for a short tea and coffee break, and then please be back in the next 15 minutes as we start with our panel discussion. Thank you very much.